But if we can take just a second and give us like the one-liner, who you are, the company you work for, and like one-liner about like what you really do. Like, you know, VP or Chief Innovation Officer sounds like really great, but like what is it that you actually do? So, you know, mine would be Paul Jarrett, CEO, mascot of the company that Stephanie and Hank run. That would be my real title. Does that make sense? Cool.
Clear.
Who wants to kick it off?
Great. Okay, I'm Warren Shore. I'm Vice President of Business Development and Global Licensing for Crayola. And I guess I'm the chief button pusher.
Chief button pusher, okay.
Chief button pusher.
Good or bad buttons?
Sometimes bad buttons.
Got it.
I can go. My name is Vikram Sarma. I work for the Clorox company. Title's Senior Director of Marketing Innovation for the company. If anything, I'm a what's next guy. Like, what's that next big thing that's going to transform the world? But that comes with a lot of agitation, so I like the button pusher.
Lance Monachenko. I work for the Scott's Miracle-Gro company. I would say my role is really preparing Scott's to focus more on direct-to-consumer activities, so more on the e-commerce side of the world, and how can we prepare ourselves for like the next evolution of how we work with consumers.
Okay, so obviously each of you on this panel has, you know, marketing, innovation, button pusher, right? As we look at subscription boxes, and boxes can be used as part of a marketing strategy, the marketing strategy, et cetera. How does your subscription box, and Clorox is in, you know, yours hasn't launched yet. We have the CIY box, we have Lunarly. I'll let you say whatever you want to say about the Clorox stuff. But how has a subscription box kind of contributed to your innovation strategy and or your marketing strategy? I'm going to put you on the spot, Lance, if you would like to start, and then, you know, feel free to jump in anywhere else, and we'll be a little bit unorthodox because I hate when these things are so strict.
So we've approached subscription boxes, and I would say it's our first step into our direct relationship with our consumer outside of our core brands. So what's interesting about Scott's is we didn't do a Scott's or a Miracle-Gro branded product. We did a new product that we created with our partnership with BuzzFeed that really allowed us to learn more about consumers, how they want to interact with subscriptions, how they want to interact with brands, without putting our brand at risk because of a multitude of stakeholders who have an ownership in that, from our consumers to our retailers. So it really gives us a lot of core learning, how to operate in the DTC space, while also getting us very close to a consumer, which we really enjoy.
Warren, I think you have something to say on this topic as well.
So for Crayola, our subscription box was an extension of our content strategy. So we launched Crayola CIY as short, snackable content videos on social media and YouTube. And that content's generating 9 million views a week. But the real challenge was monetizing that. So we started monetizing it at retail very, very successfully. And then the question was, could we monetize with a consumer that we currently weren't meeting the demand for, with a new product that we couldn't bring to retail another way? And this allowed us to be truly innovative and go the next level with our consumer base.
Gotcha. How is, I'm going to tag onto that, how is, when you see the consumer content and kind of the impressions, et cetera, that you drive, there's boxes, but there's other products in that mix. I mean, when I think of kind of CIY, it's like a brand within a brand, right? How is that, you know, I think with some of the subscription boxes, some people have their own branded products or et cetera. Like, how is leveraging a platform to sell other products or other branded products, is it going, you know, the way that you think? What are some of the nuances that you maybe didn't expect leveraging the Crayola brand? And I'm kind of trying to ask for like the bad things, you know? Like,
I couldn't hear you, what?
So what are the unexpected negative consequences of leveraging a brand like Crayola? What are you trying to avoid with that?
I don't know that it's actively avoiding, but if you look at it from the standpoint of Crayola is, by independent survey, mom's favorite brand in America. We've been helping 5 generations of moms and teachers raise creatively alive children. So when you go out with your own brand, you're putting your brand center and first because that's what the consumer relates to. At the same time, sometimes that's what a consumer will respond to, and if they don't like it, they're going to tell you.
Yep.
That does give you a chance to improve, though.
Don't mess it up, in other words.
I'm sorry?
Don't mess it up,
Yeah.
in other words. For those of you that haven't put the pieces of the puzzle together, Bulu builds private label subscription box programs. We've helped them with their programs, so this is an interesting dynamic, to say the least. I'm waiting for one of them to say, we did something wrong, because I think that'd be hilarious. Would you like to contribute to that or move on to the next question?
Yeah, actually, for the Clorox company, I'm sure many people are like, oh, you guys have things like bleach and disinfecting wipes, and how does that fit into a box or a subscription, and what's the value that you guys see there? And for us, we have a brand that has a purpose to help champion a cleaner world where people thrive. And for us, clean is the beginning. And so there's a broader experience that when things are clean, you can start to learn in a classroom. You can start to go make cupcakes with your kids. And it's those magic moments that we want to bring to life. And so oftentimes, branded manufacturers think of themselves as the hero, and our brand is the hero in this. In this case, we're just an ingredient to a broader experience. And boxes have the unique ability to create connections on experience types like outdoor living. If you can clean the patio furniture, get the charcoal, get some cool stuff to marinate your meats in, you have an outdoor living experience, and we're just an ingredient of something broader. And our belief is we're not positive on where we fit and which experiences are right for our products and brands, but we know that the consumer's choosing experiences, not products. And so we're committed to iterating our way, working with partners to figure out which experience makes the most sense that we can be an ingredient of. And that's a really big shift, because as you would imagine, when you have a brand name like Clorox or a brand name like Burt's Bees, you're pretty proud about, kind of beating your own chest and talking about your brand. We're putting that secondary and putting the consumer experience first.
Gotcha. Cool. I'm going to read the next one because I'm not smart enough to remember what the question was. Warren nodded like, I know. Forbes recently released an article about how subscription boxes are here to stay because of their high growth potential and consumers' expectations to have the things that they want delivered to their doorstep. What are your thoughts on the future of subscription boxes and how that will impact e-commerce in general?
So I'll start with this. We were chatting a little bit backstage about how a subscription box is a part of our overall e-commerce strategy. So it's definitely a part of how we start that relationship with our consumers. And from our perspective, it's the one-to-one relationship with the consumer is why we've been able to build such great brands. And from a Scott's perspective, so fertilizer and grass seed, it's a subscription. It's just on a yearly basis instead of a quarterly basis or a monthly basis. So I think it's just how you frame it up. From an e-commerce perspective, it allows us to have that direct relationship with them, sell it directly to them without the relationship of the retailer. But big brands have had that relationship of an interaction with a consumer. We just haven't made it easier for them through a subscription type of service. So it's always been the consumer has to go to the store to buy the brand, and taking that step out, making it easier for them to get access to the product, but also to understand how to use it and how it fits into their life in a more meaningful way.
What are some of the challenges of internally? I mean, with innovation, he's like, shit, you went off script already? With innovation, there is risk. I've been on the corporate side. I've worked at Nike, Lowe's, et cetera. I know how challenging buy-in is. What are some of, internally those things that you had to overcome with Lunarly to continue to push this? Because anybody that says a product launch goes perfectly is full of shit.
Yeah. I would say it's two things. One is to understand how it fit into the overall strategy of our company. So if you guys don't know what Lunarly is, it is a mindfulness box where we help our subscriber really relate to and get in touch with their intentions and what their goals are. in a world where everybody has a cell phone and they're always connected, how do you help people disconnect? We've always found that plants and plant care and yard care is a good way to do that. So what we focused on was like getting that into a person's hand on a monthly basis. Now, the economics of that, and from a product company where we sell it to a retailer and then they turn around and sell it, versus a subscription where you have to start talking about customer lifetime value, cost of acquisition, all these other terms that are common to you guys, but from a giant corporation just aren't in the terminology because we just don't think that way.
Yep, great, thank you. All right, we're going to flip it. I'm going to go to you. You ready for it, man?
Yeah, let's do it. So
No, I'm going to really
you're going to
flip it.
change the question on me, all right?
No, I'm just
Boxers or briefs? I have to answer
Commando
box.
trick
Anything
question.
with a box
You
is
showed
the
me
answer,
earlier.
yeah.
So how do you believe your subscription box, the one we're discussing, which you can, again, share as much as you want, how do you think that will impact your relationship with customers, or what attracted you about the subscription box program and how that will impact the ability to be within, customers' views and in their hands? And then I'll toss it to Warren after that and say, in the short time that Crayola has been around, how has that impacted your relationship with customers?
So I'll answer it in two parts. So what attracted to us to this versus what attracted our management to this were very different.
Interesting.
So the whole world in consumer products, everybody is up all night thinking, how do I evolve my supply chain to be e-commerce friendly? And you can only imagine how complicated it is, and the types of investments and things like that. And that's going to happen. Industries shift. The world shift from direct store delivery to being able to flow through a Walmart, and it's going to change again, and that evolution will happen. What attracted me and what I'm trying to really focus my management on right now are two things. Number one, the ability to have a direct relationship with your customer and know their first-party data. That is the competitive advantage of the future, because you can create a captive market. If brands were nations, your first-party people are your citizens, and you better understand their needs and how to serve them over time. So that was number one. Number two, I want to be modern and part of the experience. Like so many of CPG items that I've worked on in my career are often forgotten. So people walk through the store and it's like, oh man, I just forgot that one laundry detergent thing or the dishwasher, etc. If I can crack the occasions and not be forgotten, the consumption value long term is huge. Yeah. And the key is getting the right experience, the right context, the right value for the consumer. And without the first party data, we can't get there.
Yeah, I think you said something very insightful for the crowd. And at our company, we've done this for 8 years. We have over 15 programs, and what you just said about having that direct relationship with the customer, mentally I kind of went, oh yeah, I forget. And it brings me back to my corporate days when, we actually launched, as at a company, we launched the first textbook rental program. Mm-hmm. And we were like, oh, this is great for all these reasons. Well, along comes a little company called Chegg. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Chegg. Two dudes in a dorm room. Actually, I went to the same college as them. I knew them, total coincidence. They kicked our ass. And to this day, I've been wondering, what did they have that we didn't? And, we were going through retailers and we didn't have that direct kind of, connection with the customer. So I think for everybody out in the crowd, that's a really valuable insight from the source of, you all have a unique advantage of interacting on a regular basis with the consumer. And I think over time we'll take that for granted, or sometimes we avoid it because we don't want to see the YouTube comments, right? You're so quiet, I know that's real, right? They're like, how does he know? So thank you for that. That's really insightful. Warren, to you, how has this in the short time impacted your relationship with your customers? And where do you see it going?
So I'll relate back to the question you answered. We talk about how subscription is evolving and it's part of the e-commerce world, but it's also part of the omni-channel world. So Crayola sells actively some 80,000 doors, and we can reach a lot of consumers that way. But we're reaching a very specific consumer a very specific way. For us, the subscription box is an opportunity to reach a new consumer, in this case a teen or millennial consumer, with an offering that isn't as retail friendly necessarily. It's working together with different products that otherwise would not sit on shelf together. So we can provide a unique solution to a new consumer set, and it ultimately will augment what we do at retail and what we do on e-commerce as well.
Gotcha.
Could I throw in one ad? Since you took it off script, I'm going to go off
Yeah,
script.
dude.
One of the things
I want to
that-
take some questions from the crowd, to be honest. I looked down like, shit, we got 30 minutes? Like,
One of the
tough
things we're really excited about is the potential to make innovation stick. So you had asked, like Lance, like, hey, where do you see this from an innovation standpoint? And everyone talks about the subscription model. But the fact that I can get completely new to the world products and ideas into consumers' hands as the surprise and delight within a box is a huge deal. And that's actually an economic advantage from a demand creation, supply chain, et cetera, than trying to educate 40 million people at once to go find one little facing in one aisle at a Walmart. And it's going to change the way that CPG companies fundamentally innovate. And it's going to change like the curve to how people adopt new things.
Yeah.
And I think that's super exciting.
yeah, that's awesome. There's some gold. I hope everybody's getting this down from this team. So I'm going to toss it to Lance. This is a great, as the people that run the program, I just realized what I'm asking on this question, so this will be great. Lance, what's the long-term vision for Lunerly? He's like, we're shutting that shit down next week.
I'll answer. So I'll answer your question, but indirectly.
Answer the question you wish I would have asked.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's being at Scott's right now on this product lineup is very interesting because we're basically launching startups within the organization where sometimes we haven't quite figured out exactly what the long-term strategy is. It's coming to us as we go and as we learn and as we interact with consumers. So I would say the program is versus the individual brand is, I think, here to stay. And it's more because of what Vikram said. It's the interaction with the consumer, the one-to-one conversation that you can have and how you can leverage that for future innovation. Consumers aren't afraid to tell you what they want. It's just, do you listen to it and do you adapt to it? And how quickly can you do that? Because other people are listening as well.
For us, we see it evolving as part of our content strategy. So while we're currently targeting teens and millennials, there's the opportunity to create new subscription services that support whether it's education or supporting mom, supporting kids. We see this as an underpinning platform that other products and innovation can stand on.
I think for us, the overall vision is to be one click away from whatever experience you want. Subscription boxes is one of the hows to do that. E-commerce is a broader area, and platform is another way to do that. But one of the probably most bold things that we've done is we actually hired a UX expert in from the Bay to just sit on all our teams. And the thinking is completely different. It's a new muscle. We have to invest in it and learn. But if we really want to live that like one-click vision, we have to start to embrace that type of diversity, think, and then eventually act differently. So boxes are our first foray into acting differently towards a one-click world. But it's just the beginning. Where boxes go as a part of one click, couldn't tell you, but I know it's going to be a big ingredient.
Yep, that's awesome. All right, going a little bit off script. Looking at you. You ready for this? All right. It's a yes. All of you have phenomenal backgrounds in innovation, and I believe that you all understand, what it actually takes to launch a product, et cetera. Warren has a particularly fascinating Simpsons, like what's some of the wildest things that you've worked on? Not the one we were talking about before. Not that one.
Well, I come out of the studio consumer products world. So
The what?
The movie studio consumer products world.
Gotcha.
So having spent time with Warner Brothers, Fox, and MGM, really immersed on the entertainment side. So if we look in the subscription world, that's really the engine that fueled Loot Crate.
Right.
Being on the brand side now, I think it's an interesting time for brands. I'm repeating myself over and over, but it's time for brands to embrace themselves as content creators. Content is now becoming the new marketing vehicle.
Amen.
So I think it's a great muscle for every brand to have.
Yeah. So with your guys' awesome backgrounds in innovation, and I mean that sincerely. I mean, as I continue to read more about your backgrounds, I have more questions than anything. What is something, when you started your career in innovation, and whether it was negotiating deals, launching new products, strategies and management, if you were, in your, I'm just going to guess, early 20s, right? What is something that you wish that you could go back and tell yourself about innovation? And the reason that I'm asking this question is that I think a lot of people in this room, it's their first time as entrepreneurs, right? Or launching a box and whatever. And that's scary as hell, right? And I can go back and tell myself a lot of things mentally, but I think with people that have, earned their stripes, they've been through it, what do you wish you could go back and tell a younger version of yourself? Hey, as you innovate and launch products, a few of these things are gonna happen. Be ready for it. What would you say to yourself?
I think it's okay to embrace failure. In fact, fail fast. Know when it's not going to work. Recognize you're not meeting certain metrics, and shift to what is the next opportunity quickly.
Awesome.
I would agree with that. You're going to fail. Things aren't going to go right. It's how can you quickly identify why it happened and adjust accordingly, because nothing's going to happen the way you think it's going to. You have to prepare yourself ahead of time, like this is where it can fail. And if the quicker you can think around the corner, as we say in the brand world, of like what's next, can you anticipate what's going to happen? It'll limit the time from failure to the corrective action that needs to be put into place.
Yep.
I think for me, it's be very clear on what your intent is that you're trying to solve. Don't be married to your executions. In fact, have 5 or 6 completely different solutions you want to evaluate towards whatever that intention is, and know what you're going to learn differently from each one.
Yeah.
And if you manage it like a funnel, you'll find a way to fulfill that intent. But gosh, if I were to bet on the solutions that I thought would win or that I was passionate about, I would have been wrong every time. But if I look back, the times when I had more bets against one intent, we were more successful as a team than the times where it was like all in on one thing because we believed in it.
Yep.
So.
That's awesome. Corporate innovators, they're just like us, right? All right, I'm going to flip the script again, and I know I'm going to probably cause a panic in the back. Don't worry, we don't need another microphone. I want to take a question from the crowd, and if you yell it, we'll just repeat it. Right there, go ahead.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the Clorox offerings. I feel like I didn't get a good grasp of what that was.
She wondered if we can talk more about the Clorox offering, the box, I think is what she said.
We're under discussion in terms of a number of concepts. What I'd say is, going back to my earlier comment on we want to have the right experiences, there's some experiences that we feel we can solve. So there's outdoor living, that we have a series of solutions that can help you start the season and celebrate on your patio in the summer. Another area is back to school, back to college. We think that particularly the cleaning components are a huge offering as a part of a broader solution that consumers would actually look for an experience for. And we have a couple other things under discussion where we know that there's experiences to be had. We don't know if we have the right products or not, or the right partners or not, but we're going to keep exploring those, and I'd rather not share those at this point. So.
No. I always think about large brands entering the space, and at Bulu Box we have a health and wellness box. We also work with our biggest competitor, GNC. We do their box as well. We keep everything siloed. And, there's this moment where I had to have like a moment of clarity of, man, are these big brands going to crush us? And I had a moment where I thought, no, wait, these folks entering our space is good. This is the natural evolution. This is business. This is market validation, right? And for every Starbucks, there's like a local coffee shop and everything in between. And this is, what I always give Chris a lot of credit for, co-opetition. I say cooperatition the wrong way, so however Chris says it. So I think it's really cool that we have that. We do have time for like 1 or 2 more questions. Let me see a hand. Right there. Yell it out, sir.
So this is for the Clorox?
Clorox, you're getting nailed.
Jeez,
Yeah.
Too slow, Chris.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Repeat it, please.
No, go ahead.
How do you plan to compete against Amazon? I know they already have Clorox that you can subscribe to. They have cleaning products. It must be a major concern for you, right?
Well, I think Vic and Brad from Amazon are going to arm wrestle. Is that right? And
Yeah,
winner takes
it's actually
all?
a cage match, 12:30.
Could you?
Yeah, no, I don't view Amazon as a competitor. I view Amazon as another retail partner. And in my career, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself here, I've found that unlocking mutual value with your retail partners is the key to unlocking disproportionate growth. In the late 2005 to 2010, I was working pretty closely with Target, and we were able to take a business that's growing 8%, bump it up to 17% by finding mutually aligned incentives. And I have high confidence partnering with retailers like Amazon and really getting deep in understanding each other's models, interests, and the consumer that you're serving, that you can achieve that kind of growth. Now, like any company, to be competitive, we have to have multiple offerings to wherever shoppers go. And so that's one of those things that we would do, just like I'm sure my partners up here would do. And Amazon knows that well, like any other retailer.
Yep.
So.
Amazon, if you can't beat them, join them.
We're actually already working with Amazon with our subscription box, so it's already on their subscription platform. And I would say with confidence that there's not a retailer on the landscape right now that's not exploring the subscription model and saying, how do they also adopt it? So if we think of the omni-channel space, it's the consumer path that matters. There is a consumer that's going to take the journey to go into the retail store. How do they get immersed in this idea of a subscription? If they're online and they're going to Amazon, how are they going to reach this as a solution? And then we ourselves will also try to reach that consumer.
Yeah. Would you like to add anything? Or maybe we'll give you the next.
Amazons are definitely not a competitor. Like, it's definitely we would call it a customer. We want to work with them, grow with them. There's a lot of opportunity around that. They're the first, like, in my opinion, the first ones who really crack the code.
Yeah.
We can learn from them, and they can learn from us.
Absolutely. I do have to say, I'm a big fan of, I forget what they call it now, I know it's Amazon SWA, but Brad, who's here, and his team, this is I really do believe this is the birth, what we're all a part of, why this conference doesn't feel normal. This is the birth of an industry, and we're all part of it. And like I was trying to muster up last night, this is a journey, and I'm excited to be on it with everybody in this room, and that's cool. But I really do have to give a lot of props to Brad and the Amazon team. Are they in here anywhere? I don't know. They might not be here. I think they're doing a really great job of listening and understanding what this is, and they're not. There's Amazon.com, and then there's Amazon. There's all these different branches. So I think I give them a lot of credit for listening and understanding what's going on, and pick up the phone and call them. I think so many times we miss that with whatever big in our heads sometimes as entrepreneurs. Amazon or all these places are big scary beasts, right? Behind it, they're just regular, probably entrepreneurial-minded people, right? So pick up the phone and call them and see if you can't figure out kind of where their head's at. So I think we got time for one more. Let's give a hard one. Who's out there? Got a question from the crowd? One more. I know you're too scared to ask it. No? Okay. Well, I got a question for you guys. It's kind of lame, but we're going to go that way. Ready? This is the final one. Internally at your company, how do you call the subscription? This is a weird question. I don't know why I'm asking it, but I feel like there's some sort of insight that we can glean from it. Maybe we'll start with you. Internally, what do you refer? Is this e-commerce? Is this omni-channel? We used to call it sample box back in the day, right? Subscription box. Like, what do you refer to it internally? Because I think that provides a good insight on the crowd and like how your industry is thinking about it.
We don't have a consistent language, to tell you the truth.
Yep.
It's toggled between omni-channel and e-commerce. I've been a champion of digital commerce.
Yep.
But we don't have a dominant vernacular because it is a emerging space that's shaping real time, and we have a diversity of points of views within our teams on what to call it. But we all know that whatever it is big, and we are going to continue to invest big to be one click away.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would echo the same. It's a test and learn environment.
Yep.
We refer to our subscriptions or those as digitally native brands. So to think about it, like we may launch through a subscription, but that's never the end goal. The end goal is to get into retail, to scale, to really think about it as this is what it stands for. We're getting real feedback from consumers in a real time. It's a testing ground. It's a market research avenue for us to really hone in on the offering. But I wouldn't. It's not subscription. It's digitally native brands and new brands that we're bringing to market.
Interesting. I think that just opened up a lot of questions that we don't have time for, but I appreciate it. Thank you for letting us be part of this. Thank you, Lance, Warren, Vic. We appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody out there. And this is cool. Like I said, not to get too cheesy. I'm not a super kind of cheesy, emotional dude like that, but this is cool, and I think these conferences we're going to remember, and we're going to look back on them and say, remember that one time whenever. So that's cool, and I appreciate everybody in the crowd, your attention and being here. Thanks, Chris and team. Thank you guys, and I will turn it over to the person that's better at entertaining the crowd than I am. Do something funny.
Let's give them a round of applause,
There it
folks.
is.
Thank you.